All right. So, welcome everyone. My name is Ernest King Arthur. I'm with the crew, Microsoft User Group Ghana, and we are honored to host our wonderful speakers in today's section. Welcome everyone. A special welcome to all our first-time attendees. It is a pleasure to host you here in the community. Microsoft User Group Ghana is a Microsoft-oriented community that do organize events monthly and global events as well. Today, I'm honored to be your host. I have in the chat, in the section, other organizers who did a great job of making sure all that you saw throughout the promotion and to this time, everything went well. So a big shout out to the organizers of Microsoft User Group Ghana. Yes, today I will not waste much time. I'm honored to introduce to you Ibrahim Imboji, who will be our first speaker of the day. The section will be 2 hours section, and you can use the chat box. The chat box is enabled. If you want to voice out, you can use your raise hand reaction. Then I will allow your microphone or your camera so that you come and then ask your question. So as the section goes on, kindly feel free to post your questions in the chat box and also use the raise hand feature so we can allow you to speak. Indeed, I believe you will enjoy today's section, and I would like to introduce our first speaker. If you are ready with your staff, Ibrahima, if you are ready, I would like to give you the nod to start the section for us. Thank you. Yes.
Okay, Ernest, thank you very much. Excited and very happy to be here. We will talk about how to secure IaaS workload with Microsoft 365 security solutions. So I will just share my screen. Okay, let me. Sorry, I have some problem with Teams.
All right, that's okay.
Let me try again. Are you able to see my screen?
Yes, we are able to see your screen.
But let's see. I think I've let me kill the process and try again because
Okay, that's okay.
Hello, Ernest.
Yeah, hi, Silva.
Yeah, can we take some few minutes to introduce, to get to know the rest of the participant while Ibrahim is trying to sort himself out so that we can buy him some minutes? Is that fine?
Sure. Yeah, that's
yeah.
okay. That's okay. So I have in the chat, Mubarak, I'm just going to allow your mic. I think it's already allowed. If you can unmute yourself and let us know your experience and what you are expecting from today's program. If you can hear me, Mubarak.
Am I audible? Hello.
Yes, you're audible.
Hi guys, I'm Mubarak, and I'm now trying to explore Microsoft. I'm coming from the AWS background, so I'm just trying to look at Microsoft also and see what Microsoft has. So that's about me.
Okay, that's awesome. That's awesome. Thank you for joining us. Is today your first time?
Yeah, today's my first time.
That's great. That's great. Thank you for joining the section. Okay, Abraham, your mic is allowed. You can unmute yourself and share with us some experience and what you are expecting from today's program.
Oh, hi, Ernest.
Yeah, hi. Yeah, we can hear you. Hello, Abraham. Yes, I think we can hear you, but your mic is very low. The volume is very low. Yeah, Abraham, can you hear me? Okay, so we can move to Abraham. Can you hear me? Okay, we move to Emmanuel Ejenim. If you can hear me, your mic is allowed. So kindly unmute yourself and let us hear about you, what you do, and what you are expecting from today's section.
Hello.
Yes. Hello, Emmanuel. We can hear you. Yes.
I'm Emmanuel Ajenu. I'm the Management Information System Officer.
Okay.
I agree department.
Okay. Awesome. Is this your first time joining us?
Yes, this is my first time.
Oh, okay. Great to have you here. And what are you expecting from today's section?
As usual.
Okay. All right. Thank you for making time. Do spread the message about Microsoft User Group Ghana. I know Baba. I'm sure it's the Baba that I know. Baba, can you hear me? Okay, it seems Baba is not. Okay.
Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah. How are you today, Ernest?
Oh, I'm doing good.
That's
Yourself?
nice. Hi. Yeah, I'm very well. So hi everybody. I'm an old user or old member of the group, and a strong supporter of the group.
Yeah. Thank you.
I'm a program manager in technology, and for today, I'm looking forward to the presentation from what we would have on security, Microsoft security. Looking forward to the presentation from Abu as well.
Okay.
So yeah, I think everybody should participate, and well done to you guys for what you do. But the group is a very relevant group, and it gives people opportunity to learn. So that's what I like about the Microsoft user group. Thank you very much, Ernest.
Thank you very much, Baba, for your support all these years. Thank you very much. So we move to Imbaye. I don't know if I got the name right. Imbaye, your mic is allowed, so you can unmute yourself. And
yeah, so hello guys. So I'll try to turn on my camera. I don't know if it will work or not. Okay, yeah.
Okay. Just hold on.
Yeah. Okay, sorry.
Oh, okay, great. We are seeing you now.
No problem. So my name is Mbai, but usually people call him Babakar. So I'm an Azure Cloud Data and AI architect at Microsoft Canada. So
awesome.
yeah, so usually I'm following I'm following so my friend who will be presenting, and usually I'm there to support communities, and I'm really interested in communities, either Microsoft or related to other tools, and I'm here mostly for learning, guys. So, and I guess that I will learn a learn a lot. Yeah, sure. So
Most appreciated. We are very humble to have you join us. Maybe we will send you a personal invitation for our next coming event, for you to share your knowledge if you have the interest.
Yeah. Hey, so no, but Ibrahim is with you guys. So I think that he is the best Azure guy I've ever seen. So
appreciated. We are most humbled. Humbled. Thank you very much for joining us. Okay, thank you very much. Yes, I have Frank. Frank, please, your mic is allowed and camera as well. So feel free to let us know what you do and what you expect from today's section.
My name is Frank. I'm okay. I'm unmuted. I am Frank, and I manage IT for an accounting firm, SCG. And yes, I'm here to learn. All right. And be an active member of the community. That is also another goal. So.
We appreciate that. Thank you very much for reaching to us. We are very, humbled to welcome you to the community. Yes, I think after the event, I'll reach to all first timers and engage them. So thank you very much for joining the section. Yes. Okay, so, all right. Ibrahima, are you okay?
Yes, do you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay. Sorry for the delay because my PC is.
That's very much okay.
A bit slow. So let's deep dive into it. Who am I? I'm Ibrahim Mboji. So I'm a cloud solution architect at Avanade, France. I'm passionate about all cloud technologies, cloud and mobile technologies, even if I'm Azure specialist. My subjects are Azure, IaaS, platform as a service, identity and access management, governance, cybersecurity, and DevSecOps. So I'm also a Microsoft MVP since last year, and I'm Microsoft certified trainer and since 2020. So what is the schedule? So we'll talk about the Microsoft 365 security features. So an overview of those features. We will talk about the remote work use case with the Azure Virtual Desktop. And I will also show the use case that we can have in IaaS-based applications and Active Directory domain services on Azure, so the IaaS part. So we will share some tip tricks and best practices. So in the overview, what is Microsoft 365 for business? So we have many options that start with business essentials. Then we have business premium, and we have business standard, and business premium. The premium is the one that have the advanced security. So I think they call it enterprise mobility and security when it is standalone. But if it is included in the Microsoft 365 license, it's Microsoft 365 Business Premium. So as you can see, with the basic and standard, you have the application and a certain level of plans, but you don't have advanced security like Azure Information Protection, all defender for identity, for endpoint, for cloud apps, etc. You don't have also conditional access or Windows Virtual Desktop, and also you don't have the Intune license included. Of course, if you have basic and standard, you can buy the security features in a standalone mode. So, but if you have this license, it includes all the security features. And as we see with the clients, all the small businesses or some businesses that have security concern, that have many users, they have also the Microsoft 365 Business Premium. So what does it include? It includes the identity security, the device security, application, email security, document security. So all the security features that you can use to protect the end-to-end process with your user. So the use case here is the remote work. So the remote work could be a regular user, so that have the emails that have some document that he share with his teams. It could be also a developer or an IT pro that use, for example, remote work to access some server to do some operational task, etc. So you could see some examples that you can set up to make the security accurate, like the multifactor authentication, conditional access. In the device security, you have Windows 10, but you also have Windows 11 and all the security, integrated security inside. And also you have in the application some action that you can block or allow, etc. This is integrated and in the native security, global native security. As you can see here, you have the overall, the big picture of the Microsoft security features that you can have on Microsoft 365 environments, but Azure environments. So if you want to enable zero trust architecture, you have all the solutions included in the Microsoft 365 security options, plus some features that you could see in Azure. So especially, for example, as I shown later on, the Microsoft Endpoint Manager to manage the endpoints. The endpoints can be either a physical device, but also could be an Azure Virtual Desktop host, a session host. You could have either Windows 10 or Windows 11 in your Azure Virtual Host pool, even if you can also have Windows Server. But most of the time, we deploy Windows 10 or Windows 11 in Azure Virtual Desktop. So, as you can see, you could have many use cases. You have business users, developers, administrators. You can have internal access, workstations, etc., and all come in the Azure Active Directory to be able to connect either application, server, or other cloud services. So that gives you all the options that you can use in Microsoft 365 and Azure environments. And in the strategy of Microsoft, you can also have some features that that could be deployed on AWS or GCP, Google Cloud Platform, etc., etc. So, do you have some question about this picture? Sorry. Do you have some question? If not, I will go to the virtual desktop use cases.
Ibrahim, I have a question. You mentioned GCP or AWS.
Yes.
Where would that fit in this picture?
For example, if you have the cloud app security, you could add AWS or GCP. How can I say that? I think it's a connector. And also in the Microsoft Defender for Cloud, you could also have those environments that are included in the strategy of, let's say, centralize the multi-cloud environment.
Okay. So does that mean that you're using the Microsoft stack, security stack,
Yes.
to manage those other resources? Is that correct?
Yes, exactly.
Does that require Arc-enabled devices or Azure Arc to be installed on those environments, AWS or GCP?
If you want to manage the resources itself, yes, you need to have Azure Arc. But if you just want to manage with the cloud app security, you don't have to have the Azure Arc.
Okay,
it's
great,
a
thanks.
little bit different.
All right.
Does it answer to your question?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, I think Baba, you can unmute yourself and ask your question.
Yeah, thank you very much, Ernest. And Ibrahima, thanks for the presentation. So my question is, at the beginning of the presentation, I saw you added DevOps as part of your profile. So I
Yes.
wanted to ask, from a security perspective, I've also heard about DevSecOps. So if you wanted to secure a DevOps pipeline, right, with this map, how is that going to work? How do you layer security or embed security in the pipeline?
So you have two steps. So you have to add some static analysis, static code analysis tools. Microsoft don't provide, in my opinion, those kind of tools. But for identity, you can provide the multi-factor authentication because your user is either an hybrid user or cloud user. So as you can see here, you can use it to access your CI/CD pipelines. And also you have something like Azure policies that you can integrate in your pipeline. You also have, let me show you here. You could associate your CI/CD pipeline to a Microsoft Defender for Cloud in case you have some containers. Let me show you. If you go to environment settings, and go to integrations. You could see here that you can enable the CI/CD vulnerability scanning with the Microsoft Defender for Cloud, but you don't have advanced security features like repository scanning, etc., delivered by Microsoft. But at least you have some feature that you can use for that.
Thank you very much, Ibrahima.
You're welcome. I guess my demo will be hard today because my PC is slow.
Yeah, I think we can manage. Let's see how far we can go.
I think I will leave the slide and show you directly on the portal something because so here we have an Azure Virtual Desktop environment that could be leveraged to provide a remote desktop or remote app to many kind of users, business users, administrators, or let's say developers or DevOps. And here you can deploy some host pools. In the host pools, you have, let's say, the session host. The session host is a virtual machine. Let's say here in the DevTools host pool, so you have, for example, here two session hosts that if I go directly to the virtual machine, you can see that it's Windows 11 virtual machine. So I have some error here, but let's say let's go to the virtual machine. So I'm assuming, for example, you have Microsoft 365 premium license, or even you have in addition to your standard some premium licenses. So you can see here the operating system is Windows 11 Enterprise multi-session. So the multi-session means that it's on a pool desktop, so a shared desktop. Think about some developers or some operationals that can share a same virtual machine to do their day-to-day task. And this is the first use case I want to show, because most of the time you can see that in the real world scenario, because it's a little bit hard to provide some physical device to remote workers. So Azure Virtual Desktop is pretty much a very good solution for that. And also, if you have the Microsoft 365 Business Premium license, you can, at the end, secure, let's say, the virtual machine, because you have a Defender for Endpoint for free. You have Defender for Identity if you have an Active Directory domain services, ADDS server. You could deploy Microsoft Defender for Identity. I will show you how. And also, you can leverage the threat and vulnerability management used in the Defender for Cloud. It's kind of a vulnerability assessment solution that will show you how vulnerable is your virtual machine. So let me try to connect to the portal and show you all the possibilities or all the capabilities that you could have. Also, the first step is, of course, Azure Active Directory, because either you have synchronized users, so hybrid users, either you have cloud users, so cloud-only users, but most of the time it's hybrid users. And if you have hybrid users, so it means that they will need to access cloud resources with Azure Active Directory. And so you can leverage conditional access policies to configure multi-factor authentication, for example. You can also have identity protection. This is only for identity. And then you have a third option that you can add. Is privileged identity management, because you don't want to give some global admin roles to everyone. You don't have to give some privileged roles to, even if the person is an administrator. Maybe you have least privilege strategy, and then in this case you could leverage privileged identity management to give them access in a certain period of time.
Yeah. Hi, Ibrahim. I think Mubarak has a question.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, Mubarak, you can ask your question, please.
Hi, Ibrahim. Okay, thank you for the presentation. So with my lay knowledge, I want to know, let's say I'm a startup, my users are 10. What security plan will you recommend that I go for? That the 365, which plan will you recommend I go for? And then how will I best deploy this? to secure my infrastructure whilst growing.
Do you mean all of users of the company are just 10?
Yeah, just a startup, a new startup with 10 users now trying to get into the cloud. Which plan do I purchase, and how would I deploy this the best security features to secure my system?
Okay, I think it will depend on your security requirements and also your regulatory compliance requirements. Because if you don't need to protect or to classify some sensitive data, or if you don't have sensitive data, I think Microsoft 365 basic is good stuff. But if you have security concern or security requirements, you need to have at least E3 license, which contain some security features but not advanced one. And at the end, if you need some advanced security features like privileged identity management, I would say you don't really have choice, because if you don't have some security options, you will miss. You could be breached easier than the normal.
Okay, all right, thanks.
You're welcome. So let me show all the admin centers here. So as I mentioned, you have the Microsoft 365 Defender portal, but you also have other portals like Cloud App Security or Defender for Endpoint. So let's say you want to onboard, for example, a Defender for Endpoint, a virtual machine. So as you can see, I've already onboarded Windows Server 2022 virtual machines, which is in an Active Directory domain. So if I want to onboard a virtual machine that could be either a Windows Server or a Windows 10 or Windows 11 virtual machines, let's say if I let's see if I am security recommendation, no. Okay. As you can see, do you have the software inventory? This is a brand new Windows Server, so I think I don't have so much application, but you can see that the Defender endpoint is installed, and the Defender endpoint will help to discover some vulnerabilities. So I deployed it hours ago, so I think it will take time, but here you should have all the vulnerabilities that are discovered in the virtual machine. You also you should have also the security patches that are not deployed in the virtual machine, and you have some other information. If I go to endpoints and let's say I want to onboard a new device, you could see here this I need to select the operating system first. It's Windows 10 or Windows 11, but it could be also even Windows Server 2008, 2012, 2016. You could also onboard macOS, Linux server, iOS, Android. And depending on what you select, you have some deployment method. Let's say I want to deploy Windows Server 2022. You have either to deploy the local script, or you can use the group policy, or you can use the endpoint configuration manager. So if you download the package, let me try to connect directly to a virtual machine. Okay, let's try to connect with the Bastion. Let me use a name. So I showed the portal, but you have many solutions to deploy it with automation. So let's see. So if you download the Defender for Endpoint package, you have this one, the onboarding script that you need to run with administrator privilege, and that's it. You don't have to do nothing else. And for if it's 2008 or 2012, of course it's different, because these are legacy version. 2008, you need to use the Microsoft Monitoring Agent, and I think there is the unified solution for 2012. It's a MSI MSI application. And here you have all the portal that you need. So there are some branding or some name that are not correct because Azure Security Center no longer exists because it's integrated in Microsoft Defender for Cloud. Defender for Cloud apps is okay. Let's say so in the Defender for Cloud apps also even is most of the time for the applications, but you can also add some other cloud provider. As I said earlier, you can add Azure, you could add Amazon, and just you need to connect to your Amazon Web Services account with the required privilege. That only this is only the requirement. And once it's connected, you should have some configuration. Let's say here I connect the Microsoft Azure platform. If I need to connect another application, let's say DocuSign or let's say Google Cloud Platform, for example. Actually, currently I don't have a Google Cloud Platform account, but this is the process to add it. And to verify if it is added or not, you come here and you check the status. What is interesting here is you have many templates that you can use for those environment or those applications. So, for example, the risky sign-in, ransomware activity, DC shadow attack, golden ticket usage, etc., etc. And if I go to Microsoft Defender for Identity, I don't have alert, but if I go to the configuration, you could see it's integrated to Microsoft Defender for Endpoint. I have some scheduled report, for example, a summary of alerts, the modification to sensitive groups in Active Directory, the password that are exposed in clear text using LDAP, also lateral movements path to sensitive accounts. And I could use the Azure Active Directory Admin Center to manage all the roles and groups. So as you can see here, the sensor that is used for my domain controller is running. The step to deploy an instance of Microsoft Defender for Identity and deploy the sensor and configure it to your domain controller is pretty much easy. You just need to deploy your let's see, you just need to download the sensor. Let's it's here, and it's a kind of next. So it's not so difficult. Just you need to have the key. Let's say here. You just need the access key, and it's easy to install. Once the sensor is installed, you can start. You should have some alert or some schedule report if there is suspicious activities that happen on your network. So I showed Defender for Identity. So as you can see, it's related to Active Directory domain services. I showed also Defender for Endpoint. Defender for Endpoint could be helpful in all sort of IaaS services, because even it's an IaaS-based application, it's still Windows or Linux. So you need an enterprise protection platform, but enterprise protection platform is never enough, because you cannot protect yourself with just signature or antivirus. You need some endpoint detection and response, and the endpoint detection and response that Microsoft provide is Defender for Endpoint. So you can deploy it on Windows, you can deploy it on Linux, and based on the deployment, you can have some, let's say, security recommendation and all those kind of stuff. Let me share my Visio diagram to wrap up. No, it's not this. So of course, only Microsoft 365 security solutions are not enough to protect all your environment, but in terms of cost, if you already have the license, you have the ability to cut the overall cost. So here, for example, I am a dev user or op user. So the process is I have a work account, so license Microsoft account. So the process normally it's well configured. So you configure a conditional access policy that will leverage or trigger the multi-factor authentication before connecting to the Azure Virtual Desktop. In the Azure Virtual Desktop, I have a workspace, the workspace that will connect me to one of the host pool. Here I show only one host pool, but you can have many host pools depending on the usage. It could be applications, it could be business apps only. It could be, for example, here I show for example, enterprise Microsoft enterprise apps and some PowerShell or Visual Studio, etc. So this is only protecting the identity. I don't show in the diagram the identity risk protection, etc. But as you can see, you have many options to protect the identity. This is just the one use case for protecting the let's say the virtual desktop, Azure Virtual Desktop workload. You can also have in Microsoft Endpoint Manager other features that you can use to add some security option inside the Microsoft Endpoint Manager stuff. In the identity, you have domain controllers. So you will have here Defender for Endpoint, of course. You have also Defender for Identity. You can also add Defender for Cloud, because Defender for Server is able to protect your virtual machine by providing some vulnerability assessment solution, just-in-time access, etc., etc. So I showed you the virtual desktop. I showed you the Defender for Identity. But as you can see here, for example, in a regular YAS-based applications, for example, you have here Windows, but you could also have Linux. So you need also an antivirus. You need an endpoint detection and response. And you could have Microsoft Defender for Endpoint to do that. Is there any question about what I've said? I think I'm reaching the end of my presentation. Feel free to ask question if you.
Okay, so we are picking questions. If you do have any question, you can kindly unmute yourself.
Just taking my profile to see if I've covered all.
Okay, so I think, Ibrahima, you can go ahead and.
No question?
Yeah, it seems they're okay.
Okay, so thank you very much for having me today. I think there are some issues, but and I apologize for that. And also I'm hoping you have learned something today, and also I wish you a best presentation. The next presentation, I think, is Matthew.
Right. Thank you very much, Ibrahima. Thank you very much for this awesome section. Is there a way you can display your handles so that the attendees can follow up? I know it's more than just a 1 hour section. So if you don't mind, you can put your handles in the chat box so the attendees can do follow up if there is any question they would like to reach you. Yes. So thank you very much, Ibrahima, for this awesome section. So we move to our second section. Yes, again, I'm honored to welcome Sir Matthew Levy. That's how I call him. So, Matthew, if you can hear me. Okay, good. I like your cap.
Hi.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right.
So you can hear me okay then?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear.
Excellent. Okay. Good afternoon or good evening, everybody, and thank you for having me. Yeah, it's good to be here. I don't know. We started more than an hour ago. I don't know if anyone wants to have a comfort break. Maybe just grab a glass of water. Ernest, it's your user group. I don't want to intervene,
It's okay. It's okay. It's
that's
okay.
a good suggestion.
Yeah, that's open and flexible. It's a community thing. So
Maybe let's give everybody 5 minutes just to sort of stretch their legs or have a comfort break, and then we carry on at let's make it 12 minutes past the hour.
Okay. All right. Okay. So,
excellent.
All right. Sure.
I'll be here. We can chat if anyone wants to come off
okay.
mute or whatever.
Yes. So, when we were doing the introduction, I think we missed Mubarak. I know Mubarak introduced himself. I think there was someone we missed. I think he's gone. Emmanuel, if you can unmute yourself and introduce yourself. I think we couldn't hear you well. Hello, Emmanuel. Oh, okay. So, all right. So, Matthew, where are you based? And we would like to know maybe the attendees,
Yeah, sure. So I'm in Cape Town, South Africa, right down the south of Africa. Born in South Africa, but up in Johannesburg. But I've lived in Cape Town for over 20 years now, 25 years actually. So yeah, this is my home. I have traveled a bit around the world, but sad to say I've never been to Ghana. A very good friend of mine lived and worked in Accra. Is it Accra? Am I saying it right?
Yes, you're right.
Yeah, he's gone back to Johannesburg now. So yeah, maybe one day when we can travel freely, I would love to come and do an in-person
we would love to host you
Ghana.
here as well.
Excellent.
Yes. We have some South African friends as well. I think Alista is a Microsoft MVP. Yes. He's a very good friend. I can see Abu wants to talk. Abu, we can't hear you.
I'm under the weather today. That's why I'm not coming.
Sorry to hear that.
Yeah. So, where is Brahim? Is Brahim around? Hello, Ibrahim.
Ibrahim.
Yes, I'm still here.
Yes. We have kind of a surprise for you. Our community leader is with you. Is with Embed.
Yeah. How are you, Ibrahim? I'm not feeling well today. That's why I'm very quiet here. I enjoy your session. Thank you so much. And Matthew too. Matthew 2020, I was in Ignite in Johannesburg. I met everybody, but I don't think that time we knew each other. I met Alistair, all the crew. So I saw you wearing the cap and the shirt. I remember that that was the session you were doing early this year, right?
Actually, last year it was September. So this one was 21. So it was September last year, and I think my cap is from 2019, and I've got a few actually. 21. I don't know what that one is. So my collection of caps.
Alistair and Dutoit,
Warren.
Warren, and all the guys. They are our good friends. They are our good friends.
Excellent.
And when I was in, I don't know if you were part of the Ignite in 2020, South Africa.
I was, yes, in Johannesburg. Yes, yeah. I spoke there. Yes, I was.
Yeah, myself, I spoke there. So at that time, we didn't know each other. That's why I got to know all the crew and the lady, Tracy.
Tracy.
Van der Scape.
Yes. Van der Scape. Yeah, all these people. Thank God you are now. Yeah.
Sorry, Abu, I didn't mean to interrupt. But I wanted to ask, so I see you're an MVP as well. What category are you an MVP in?
Azure.
In Azure,
Azure.
okay.
Yeah.
And Ibrahima, yourself?
Azure also.
Excellent.
Now we have great.
And how are you, Abu? Where are you based now?
I'm in France.
Okay.
One of these days we'll meet. Don't worry about that. Okay.
Abu was surprised I got a speaker in his own company, you know.
Oh, but definitely, I knew one day we'll reach out to each other. Definitely, the world is very small. We know each other. And
yes,
definitely, if you're an MVP, you don't speak at Microsoft User Group Ghana, you have a big trouble, big trouble. So please, if you know someone you think the person need to speak to the community, please do invite them. This is the biggest. We should even name it Microsoft User Group Africa.
Yes.
Yeah.
The most honored to have you guys pass through the community. It's just
so it started in Ghana, but hey, everybody's have to pass through, and you know, Africa is Africa, no matter what.
Well said. Well said.
Yeah. So a lot of South African MVPs that have been here, they spoke here. I don't know if you know Lawrence Reddy. Lawrence, yeah. Almost all the big names, those who we haven't reached out to them, it's matter of time. We'll definitely reach out to you to come and speak. And we are even doing our summit in October in Ghana. So if someone have a free time to come and pass by, I will be very, very grateful to have anyone who want to pass by. And it's going to be 2 days event. So if anyone want to come and be for the first time in Ghana, why not come and see how Ghana look?
That sounds great. I'll definitely consider that offer.
Host all of you here in our summit coming October.
Excellent. So you must share the details around the summit.
All right.
So we really, really want all of you, wherever you're an African, wherever you are, please reach out to us and let's do this thing together. I became the first MVP in Ghana, but since then we have now more. And that time too, MVPs were not many in Africa, but now a lot of MVPs are in Africa. We are very, very proud and happy that is happening like that. And why not West Africa and come to Ghana? Let me do it there.
Excellent.
Yes. I think we have to resume at this point.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes. Thank you guys for staying with us. We will pick the second section. So let me lay it over to Matthew. Yes.
Excellent. Thank you very much. I just want to confirm that you can see my screen before I continue.
Yes, we can see, and I like that beautiful picture of yours.
Thanks. I actually need to fix it. Apparently, it makes me look fat.
White, kind of white. It's okay.
It's wide. So actually Tracy has helped me. She's got a different picture for me to use, so I must just change it on the deck. Anyway, so a quick introduction to myself. So I'm Matthew Levy. I live in Cape Town, South Africa. I am a principal architect at MB Consult. So I actually know Alistair. I know Tracy because I do work with them. Alistair works at MB Consult as well, funnily enough, as well as Nicholas Blank. So you can find me at NB Consult. I am an enterprise mobility MVP. So I'm not an Azure MVP, but I do a lot of things within Azure. I focus on identity and access management, and a lot of that ties in with security. I'm also a Microsoft 365 and Azure security associate. I've been in the IT industry for 20 plus years. Let's just leave it at more than 20 years, shall we? I am also an organizer of user groups. One of the user groups is the South African Azure user group and also the Cloud Fridays user group. And I'm also a host on the M365 user group South Africa. So we kind of share similar user group passions.
That's great. That's great.
So let me kick off this presentation. So today I'm going to talk about Microsoft Defenders of the Galaxy, and Ibrahima has spoken a little bit about Defenders. So I'll just give another high-level overview of the Galaxy, and I've taken a reference, kind of play on words, of the Guardians of the Galaxy, but referring to Microsoft and their suite of products for defending our galaxy. So what I will talk about today is, here's a little agenda. So I'm first off going to cover what the threats are that we need to defend against. So, you know, what kind of threats are out there and we should be aware of. Then I'm going to talk about what it is that we need to protect in our galaxy. And then I'll give an overview of the Defender suite from Microsoft. And then I'll touch on it because it's quite a large topic of discussion. So I'll only touch on it, but I'll talk a little bit about the Zero Trust framework or architecture and some of the key points that you need to remember from the Zero Trust principles. And then I will give you a gift of 5 simple, basic things that you should be doing to protect your infrastructure. And I'm sure you all know one of them, at least. So let's get into it. So to protect the future, we must understand the threats of the present. So let's get into what today's cybersecurity threats are and what they're about. So this screenshot or this slide gives, or graphic, gives you an indication that the cost of committing cybercrime is very low. It's very cheap. So the average prices of cybercrime services that are for sale are shown here. And so we can see that things like attackers for hire start at $250 per job. Ransomware kits are about $66 or 30% of the profit. So they have an affiliate model where you can where the criminals benefit from whatever the profits are that you benefit from, or those ransomware kits. You can purchase on the dark web compromised devices starting at 13 cents per PC. And funnily enough, mobile devices are more valuable at 82 cents per mobile device. And I guess that's because mobile devices are used today for multi-factor authentication, you know, 2-factor authentication. So I guess that's why they're more valuable. Spear phishing for hire ranges from $100 to $1,000. Stolen username and password pairs begin at 97 cents per 1,000 on average. So that's, you know, that's dirt cheap to get stolen username and passwords. You don't even have to do the phishing. You just pay for the credentials. So organizations now face an industrialized attack economy with skill specialization and the trading of illicit commodities. So as we've seen in this snapshot, the average prices, many commodities that can be purchased in the dark markets are very inexpensive, making attacks cheaper and easier to conduct, which also means that the number of attacks goes up. So ransomware and ransomware is obviously still one of the attacks or one of the threats that we're facing, and it's very prolific in today's cyber environments. Let me just remove that. Then because it's high profit, the criminals are able to perform these ransomware attacks at very low cost and redeem or reap high profits from those attacks. So they're very appealing to criminals or to adversaries. And they also have a debilitating effect on organizations. And it obviously affects not just companies, schools, its national security, the economic security, and public health and safety. Ransomware attacks have also evolved into human-operated ransomware. So those are attacks that are not just attacks that go and encrypt data, but they encrypt specific data that is very pertinent to the business. And so they're being called the big game ransomware. So this chart here shows the overall increase in ransomware encounters. And there's some notable surge to the consumers being hit and the commercial encounters as well in late 2019, which was when ransomware as a service, or RAS, started to grow. And you can see in early 2020, at the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic, is also where surges happened. So phishing is still a major threat that we face. And in fact, phishing is used as a starting point to execute other types of attacks. So whether the criminal's goal is to phish credentials, or redirect a wire transfer to their own bank account, or download malware onto a machine, attackers are most likely to use email as their initial entry vector, and then they use phishing to get users to consent, and then a user clicks on a link and it'll grant them access and permission to applications. This is called consent phishing, and this can be done via the OAuth 2 authorization protocol. Then we've also got the scraping of passwords and credentials from logs that might be available. And then simply just guessing credentials from one breach that might be used in other services. So, criminals can buy those credentials from breached databases and try those same credentials on other databases or other services. And chances are people are using the same username and password pair on other services. So that's why we, as administrators, suggest that you have different passwords for everything. Don't use the same password and don't write the password down. It's, the standard advice to users. Then malware through password protected archive files. So, files that get sent through, they get through the systems because they're password encrypted, and so they can't be scanned. But within the email, the criminal will send the recipient the password, and then the recipient opens it up and the malware is triggered right away. Another threat is the business email compromise, or BEC, which has proven to be the most financially impactful type of cybercrime. Just an explanation, if you don't know, BEC occurs when an attacker pretends to be a legitimate business account, utilizing either a compromised email address or a lookalike domain. It might be one little character in the domain name that is different, that they've gone and registered to perform this attack. And then, starting conversation or injecting into an email conversation bank details and saying, you know, our bank details have changed. Please don't wire that deposit of $20,000 to the old bank details that we sent you. These are the new details. Please send them there. And they trick the recipients into performing these financial actions. I've included this slide just to give you an idea of the types of malicious email techniques that they're using and just some of the objectives that are here. I'm not going to read them to you, but have a look at the slide. It's an interesting sort of graphic of the phishing techniques that are going on. Another interesting thing here is that phishing kits, as I mentioned earlier, are being sold. You can purchase phishing kits, but these sophisticated kits are being sold on to cyber criminals. But the owners of those kits, or the person who developed these kits, is also collecting the information that's being phished by whoever buys it. So it's not only the victim's credentials that are being sent to the phishers that are running the campaign, but they're also likely going to the originating author and being available to other phishers. So, you know, so we ask the question here, who's phishing who here? Malware, the malware is declining because of the impact that we have from phishing, but it's not to say that malware is non-existent anymore. So while phishing has grown, malware is still part of the cybercrime infrastructure that supports attacks. And so it's evolved. So malware has continued to evolve. We have individualized malware, so it's very specific reconnaissance commands that are being executed, processes being added to startup folders and scheduled tasks or registry alterations, and then executing malicious processes. Then we've got fileless malware, is malware that derives most of its components from system processes or legitimate tools already on devices, like Cobalt Strike utilizing process injection and in-memory execution. So, you know, we've got malware that's actually calling PowerShell and running commands that are not, don't look nefarious in any way, but they are. There's a lot of botnet activity, and in fact, they're saying most malware families are classified as having some kind of botnet behavior or components to them. Web shell is still very popular, and for those that don't know what web shell is essentially compromising a website or a web service and being able to run commands from within it. So an attacker could compromise a service, a web service, and then through that run remote code, so remote code execution, and be able to run other malicious acts from that web service. There's some of the recent attacks, Nobelium and Hafnium, are named after the attack groups, the groups performing these malicious attacks. Hafnium most recently was an attack on Exchange servers on premises. So, you know, those are quite prevalent. And then some of the later technology, or one of the things that we need to just be aware of, this is an emerging threat, if you will, are the forever blockchain domains. So blockchain, you know, the adaptation of blockchain in technology, or the blockchain technology, has skyrocketed across many verticals. And we've observed blockchain domains integrated into cyber criminal infrastructure. So unlike traditional domains that are purchased through internet registrars operating through the ICANN regulated DNS system, blockchain domains are not governed by any centralized body. So it's limiting the opportunity for abuse reporting and the enforcement of disruptions. So, you know, these domains are hard to take down because they're not regulated in any way. I just want to check. I'm pausing here because I just want to check if there are any questions or anything in the chat that I should be aware of.
I don't think there is a question yet.
Okay, excellent, cool. Just one of the other threats that we're learning about or that we're seeing is machine learning adversary or attacks using adversarial machine learning. So what that means, and so there's not a lot of detail for me to share in this presentation. The slide kind of explains some of it, but we know that machine learning is an artificial intelligence technique that can be used for many applications, including cybersecurity. And so machine learning, the way that it works, data scientists and developers build and train and deploy machine learning models to understand and protect and control data and processes that we use to build trusted solutions. However, adversaries can attack these machine learning driven systems. So they're attacking the systematic system, or the actual machine learning principles. So the methods are underpinning the production machine learning systems, and because they're systematically vulnerable to this new class of vulnerabilities across machine learning supply chain. So what we see here in the image is that the attacker is able to retrain the data or infiltrate into the models and train it differently, or interfere with the data so that perhaps the alerts don't trigger when they should do, or something to that effect. So this is a new thing, but it's quite an advanced threat. I've whizzed through a lot of these threats that we are facing, and all this information is actually available in the Microsoft Digital Defense Report. So there's a nice link here on the screen, nice short link, aka.ms/MDDR, Microsoft Digital Defense Report. And so you can go into it's a PDF document and get all that information around the threats and what Microsoft are doing around those threats, where they're getting the telemetry from, and information around there. So what are we protecting? What do we need to protect in our environment, and the crown jewels, so to speak? So this slide is a very busy slide, and it actually comes from an even busier slide called the Cybersecurity Reference Architecture from Microsoft. What I've done is I've obfuscated all of the solutions that Microsoft have, just to show the actual services or environments that we have and would want to protect. So we've got our infrastructure on premises. Let me see if my clicker works. Yep, it does. So we've got our on-premises infrastructure, but it's connected to other clouds, AWS maybe, Google Cloud, Google G Suite. Sorry. We've got our endpoints, so we've got our mobile devices, our laptops, our desktops. We've also got other cloud services, so software as a service in the top right. We've got our Office 365, Salesforce, Dropbox, etc., that our users or our organization are using. On top of that, or underpinning all of that, is our identity. So we've got our, most likely our Active Directory, syncing with our Azure Active Directory. So we've got identity and access that we need to protect. And then we've got other things like Internet of Things and operational technology. And we've also got the people, the actual physical people that we need to protect. At the top here, we've got, cloud, endpoint, Office 365, identity, software as a service, as I mentioned, and more. So IoT, SQL, data in clouds, data on premises, etc. So how do we protect all of that? Well, Microsoft has got a simple solution. And I say that tongue in cheek because there's a lot that Microsoft have to offer. And Ibrahima earlier alluded to a lot of the Defender products, the Defender for Endpoint, for example, and the Defender for Cloud, and also Defender for Cloud Apps. And this is quite a daunting slide, but what it meant to show is that there are solutions that all fit together, and it's a case of starting somewhere. It's daunting because people think that we have to protect all of this information, all of these different services all at once. No, the point is get the basics right. The first thing that we should be protecting are our identities, because in this new cloud first, always connected, mobile connected world, we don't have those network boundaries that used to be the security boundary, where you come into an enterprise office, and when you're in the office, you are connecting to all of these things from a secure, protected network. That's no longer the case. The identity is now our control plane, so we should be protecting our identities first and foremost. Then we've got the endpoints where the service is being accessed from. That is probably the next thing that needs to be protected. And then obviously the services themselves and the data within the services needs to be protected, or at least protected in a way that you can define what is sensitive information. So the sensitive information that is the crown jewels of the business needs to be protected, or needs to be categorized so that you know what can be done or should be done with that data. So this slide is available. Well, actually, there's a whole lot of slides in this in this deck, the cybersecurity reference architecture. But if you go to aka.ms/MCRA, you can have a look at this, and each of these items are actually clickable items. So you can click on, whatever the name of the product is, and it'll take you to information about that product. And there's more in the presentation to show how things get connected, or how connected to resources, connected to people, etc., etc. So Microsoft have a lot of products. They're on a branding spree, a rebrand spree. They're rebranding anything that has a security flavor with Defender brand. So we had a few products that used to be called Advanced Threat Protection, or Microsoft Cloud App Security. We fondly referred to it as MCAS. And these products have been rebranded and now have the Defender brand. And so that takes me to my next slide, which just lists out those Defender 4 products. We've got Cloud Apps, Defender for Cloud Apps, which was formerly Microsoft Cloud App Security. you'll still see in some of the documentation that it's still referred to as Microsoft Cloud App Security or Cloud App Security, or MCAS. So there's some, if you are new to these environments, there's a whole lot of training series called Ninja Training for, and the MCAS one is called Ninja Training for MCAS. So yeah, check that out, but they haven't changed the name, obviously. Endpoint, that's your endpoints. Your cloud being multi-cloud, so not just Azure or Microsoft 365 clouds, but as we saw earlier, AWS and GCP. We've got IoT, as I mentioned, so your Internet of Things devices, so those fish tanks that have thermometers connected to your network so that you can monitor the temperature of your fish tank. Then, as I mentioned, identity. Defender for Identity is what used to be called Azure Advanced Threat Protection, which was actually a silly name. So I'm glad they renamed it, because now it actually does explain what it does. It's Defender for your identity. And it's agents that get installed on your Active Directory domain controllers, and any threats detected and are fed up to the XDR system. So XDR stands for Extended Detection and Response. And so that extended detection and response is a holistic view of alerts and incidents. So it's collating information, collecting the information and putting them all together in a holistic view. Defender for Office are the things that protect your emails, your SharePoint, OneDrive sites, Teams. The mechanisms of protection are things like URL rewrites, or spam filtering, impersonation protection, etc. And then we've got newly released this week is Defender for Individuals. And so this is a product that is freely available to Microsoft 365 personal or family subscriptions. So if you have one of those subscriptions, I think they're like $6 or $7 a month for M365 personal. You now get Defender incorporated in that license. It's free. And then the odd one out here is the Microsoft Sentinel product, which they have not rebranded to Defender, although they did rebrand it from Azure Sentinel to Microsoft Sentinel. And I believe the reason for that was because a lot of customers believed that it was only for Azure environments when it was called Azure Sentinel. And in fact, it's a SIEM, a security incident and events management system that collects logs and from, well, basically anything. As long as you have a collector or connector, you can send the logs to Sentinel and be alerted from those logs. So this is just an overview of what Microsoft have. So we've got Sentinel. I hear a microphone. Somebody have a question?
Matthew, I wanted to just chip in this thing. I can see that when you just check on Microsoft portal, you will see a new product Microsoft announced it there is Microsoft Intra. I don't know if you,
yes.
Yes. I don't know what it's coming to do, because we have a lot of things every time, new things popping up.
That's right. That's true. So Intra is actually, so it's not part of the Defender suite, but it's managing and governing identity and access management and permissions. So they've got so Azure Active Directory is part of Intra, and so it's not entirely clear to me what you'd have to do, but my understanding is that Entra is a product that you can purchase, so there is an SKU for it, which includes Azure Active Directory, it also includes Cloud Knox, the Cloud Knox product, which is the cloud permissions management, governance of cloud permissions, I think it is. And then there's verified identities, which is another product. So there's 3 products encompassed in Microsoft Entra. In fact, it's very new, and I think maybe what we should do is have another session, and maybe I can speak on Microsoft Entra
Okay.
as a completely separate session. But
Okay.
yeah, you're right. But it focuses on identity and access management or governance.
Yeah, because there's a lot of things focusing on identity. Let's see, Premium 2, AD Premium 2, and Defender for Identity, and Microsoft Defender for Cloud App. And sometimes when you are explaining this thing to some customers, it's about why should I have, or which one should I have?
Mm. Mm. Yeah, it's tricky, and I think what they're actually trying to do with Entra is to try and simplify things. So Microsoft are saying, marketing are saying, purchase Entra and then you get all of these components, and you don't need to understand the different components, and it's one portal. So it's you can manage Azure Active Directory, you can manage verified identities and the Cloud Knox product through one portal. But it's still it is still a little confusing for customers as to should they be getting a Defender product. And so my answer to that is the Entra product is not a Defender product. It's not a security product. Yes, it has some security features that are part of Azure Active Directory, and then it also depends on what SKU or what SKU of Azure Active Directory you have, because some of those security features are only available in Azure Active Directory Premium, P1 or P2. So Entra is not, in my view, a security product. It's more of a management and governance product. Okay. So yeah, a Defender product is going to be a security focused product. And yeah, so that's my view.
So confusing every time. I don't even know when Microsoft is going to stop this thing, because every time new product, rebranding, and really gets, sometimes some customer would just like look, okay, why should I have Defender for Identity while I have Premium 2?
Yeah. This is true. And I, as an MVP, have to stay on top of what the rebranding is and what it all means, what the differences are. And I struggle. It's drinking from that fire hose of information that's coming, and it's changing all the time. Yeah. I empathize with customers that are trying to keep abreast and understand what the differences are. And I guess that's what these user groups are for, to try and explain things. And we welcome customers to ask questions. Look, I don't know all the answers, so I'll just say this now. I'm not an expert in Microsoft at all. I know some products, but so I don't know all the answers. But what I do know is I can find somebody that can answer these questions more in depth if I can't answer them. So
yeah, that's what we've been doing. Sometimes it will be like some tricky questions. The customer will come with it. He says, I never thought of it. Really, myself, I never thought of that question.
Yeah.
And really happen most of the time. But like you said, we are here for that purpose. And anytime you feel like you want to share this kind of thing, no problem. You can reach out to us, and the platform is here for you. Yeah, thank you.
Pleasure. Cool. I'm going to crack on because I've got a little bit of a demo to give. Well, I'm just going to turn my camera off because I need to switch another light on so that I can see my notes. Yes. But the light doesn't work well with the camera. So, okay, back
That's okay.
to.
That's okay.
Thanks. I just need to get not that one up. Sorry, Teams is getting in the way. Go. Yes, demo time. I do have some licensing information. If we've got questions or if we've got time at the end, we can talk a little bit about licensing. But let me go into a Microsoft 365 Defender demo. So Microsoft 365 Defender is the XDR capability that incorporates all of the Defender products or most of the Defender products in one portal. There's still some that they are still busy trying, still have to bring in to this portal. But here, this is the security. If you go to security.microsoft.com, or if you go to any of the other security and compliance links, it'll redirect most likely to this portal. We can see we've got information on the left-hand side in the left nav. We know about endpoints, so we know that we've got Defender for endpoint information. We've got email and collaboration, which is Defender for Office, and then we've got this new section is Cloud Apps, which is Defender for Cloud Apps, or what used to be called MCAS. So over in my portal, I'm going to go to Incidents, and I'm just going to show you some of what a SecOps person might do in an incident investigation. Now, I hope my you can still hear me, right?
Yeah, we can still hear you.
Okay. Yeah, I got a notification that my network was bad, and I also lost connection to the portal. So, okay, so what I'm going to show you is an incident, and we can see that this is an incident that we have in the security in Defender. It's got a number of different detection sources, and I'll show you that in a second. But I just want to give you an overview of what this incident is showing me. So we've got alerts and categories on the left-hand side here. So this is the MITRE and attack, or the MITRE attack tactics that have been used in this incident. And so MITRE is a third party that provide this ATT and CK, or attack, which stands for adversary tactics and techniques, and common knowledge. That's what the CK stands for. And in fact, Tracy van der Schaaf told me what the CK stood for. I didn't know. So okay. we can see that we've got a number of different areas of this incident that relate to a MITRE attack tactic. So we can see, there was some initial access. So there's 3 alerts relating to initial access, all only related to this incident. Execution, persistence. Okay, there's no privilege escalation, which is good, but defense, evasion, credential access, discovery, lateral movement, and collection. So I think all in all, these 11 tactics. I can't remember 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So it hasn't covered all of them, but a lot of them have been covered or used in this incident. We can see here the scope. These just show us the impacted devices and users and mailboxes. And it also lists the order lists them in the order of risk level and investigation priority. So we can see, you know, this is a high risk or high investigation priority device. Okay, so we've got some information just from the summary of this alert, or this incident, shall I say, not alert. Okay, and the evidence and response, we don't have anything there, but we can then, you know, scroll down. We can see a bit of a timeline with the alerts, or we can click on the alerts itself. Okay, and we can see the number of alerts, right? And I'll come back to the alerts in a second. If I go to devices, so I can see the devices that were affected. There's that device, workstation 6, that has a higher risk level. And if I just click in there, I can see some more information about the device. You can see that this device actually has a number of alerts related to it, just this device. 12 active alerts in 2 incidents. This M365D demo incident is one of the 2 incidents. We've also got investigations over here where we can see that some of this is the automation. So these are automated investigations that are triggered by these alerts. And we can see what's happened. So Defender for endpoint, possible attempt to steal credentials, no threats found, etc. So there's the system will, once an alert is received, automatically go and investigate and do some more scanning to try and detect what else has happened. Okay, let's dive into the alerts now, just to see how we can investigate this attack. So we can see the number of alerts that are linked to this attack, or this incident. So an incident, as I mentioned, is a collection of alerts from, it could be one system, but it could also be multiple systems. And so we can see here, if I scroll over to the right, we've got multiple detection sources. So we've got endpoint, 365 Defender, which is the main, it correlates the incidents. Endpoint, we've got Office 365, we've got identity. So the different and automated investigation, we've got these different sources that are feeding through these alerts. So it's correlating all of these alerts into this one incident. Now, if I go and let's say click on this suspicious URL that was clicked, because it's a high severity, we actually go into the alert and we can see the alert story. So first of all, we can see the impacted devices, so workstation 6 and this user, and we can see that a suspicious URL was clicked. And if I scroll down or into the attack story, we can see that this is the link that was clicked. So you know, we can actually investigate that URL and see what that link is about. It did come in a safe link, but the user still clicked it and carried on through to the URL. If we go back to the incident, and then just go to alerts.
I have a question here, Matthew.
Sure.
Yes. So in all of these alerts and incidents, what do you do to mitigate these false positives in all of this?
So an alert can be, individual alerts can be managed. So if we go to this alert, for example, the suspicious, we can manage the alert, right? And so we can resolve the alert. If we resolve it, we can classify it as a false positive, which this gives more information to the machine learning. So, if we classify it as a false positive, it'll take that information and use that in the machine learning models. These are the categories that we can set, and then we can close that particular alert. We can also do the same for an incident. Let me just go back to the incident, and we can then close the incident and have it apply to all of the alerts. I think I have to go back one level. And I can't manage the incident because I don't have permission to manage it. This is a live environment, but it is a demo environment. So I would go into the incident itself and close it off, and it would then close all of the alerts. Okay. Or I could, trigger some more investigation, or there's actually an option to involve threat detectors, which is an actual person. I think you can do that from an alert as well. So let's go back to this link. Ask defender experts, or you can submit the item for review, etc. So you can get experts to help with this. This is a experts on demand feature of Defender, but it requires one of the Defender for Enterprise licenses to be able to ask Defender experts. Anyway, so that's what we could do.
Thank you very much.
Pleasure. It's my pleasure. I want to show you where, on this one, I just want to get to the alert with the email. So I just need to scroll down. So the email message containing malicious URL was removed after delivery. So if we click on this alert, what happened was Zap is part of the Defender for Office. It's a technology that will go retrospectively and remove the email from the user's mailbox, or go and remove the malicious content. But what we can do is, and I'll just do this in a new tab, is view the message in Explorer. So we've got some information. Microsoft Defender for Office is the detection source, or Microsoft Defender for Office 365, MDO. We've got some information around the MITRE attack technique or tactic. So a spear phishing link was sent, and a whole lot of information around the email itself. But in that other tab, this Explorer, please hold while it loads. We can see the actual email that was sent to K. Dickens, and the subject was Microsoft in big capital letters. But if I open this in a, why can't I open that in a new window? There we go. In a new window. I just do it in a new window so that I don't get lost in where I was. So this is the Threat Management Email Explorer, and you can get to that through Email and Collaboration in Explorer and search for the email based on the message ID or something to do with the email. But here we can actually see the email, and so we've got a timeline here. But on the left-hand side, we can see that the threat was phish, and it's high confidence phish. It was moved to the quarantine after it was zapped. But originally it was delivered to the inbox folder. And we can see URL detonation. So a URL was detonated by the recipient. What we can see over here is we can go to the URL, and we can see this URL over here. It doesn't look very savory, but let's see what it might have looked like to the user when they clicked on it. So this is some more information about the URL, and we've got a screenshot. So we can go and click on the screenshot and see what the user would have seen and clicked on when they clicked on it. And to an uneducated user, this might have looked like an Office 365 login screen. And so they would have gone and entered their credentials, and then their credentials have been phished. Now, I know that this is an old screen, a very old screen. I do remember it because I've been around that long, but Microsoft 365 or Office 365 doesn't look like this anymore. In fact, it's a lot prettier, and your users, if they don't see the screen very often, they won't recognize it. They won't know that it's changed. But this is a lot prettier, and this is what it should look like today. And I think they've changed this quite recently. So just, it's a bit of education for the users as well. Okay, let me close all of that out. I just thought that was interesting to show. Any questions on the email or the Explorer that is part of Defender for Office? Yep. Okay, thank you. So I'm going back to the incident, and we can see the users that were affected, and whether we should go and investigate those users. We've also got the evidence and response. I think I might actually be in a different incident that I was in earlier. And if we go to graph, we can actually see in a graphical representation, and I'll try and zoom in a little bit here, what actually happened and where it happened. So we can see that a mailbox received an email that was subject Microsoft, had this link in it. It was run, actually 2 recipients got that mail, and it was run on workstation 6 that then made a connection to DC2. Some files were executed, an IP address was connected to, what do we have here? Some processes that were run, and you can get more information by clicking on here, view these processes, PowerShell, LSAS, who am I, SVC. So this is quite an advanced threat or activity that's happening here. And then we can see that actually ADFS01 is a server that was also impacted, and there's information around that. If I go to devices, we can see the device over here. So there's quite a lot of information that we can glean just by looking at the summary of an incident and the tabs that are related to it. But we can also dive deeper into the actual alerts related to the incident. I think I'm very close to the end of time. I wanted to show some advanced hunting capabilities. Maybe I can just gauge how people are for time if they want to have a look at that, or should we leave it there and I just finish off my presentation?
I think we would be glad to have it. You can go ahead and show it.
Cool. Okay. Thank you. So we can do some advanced hunting using KQL, or Kusto query language, which is essentially a very powerful language that allows your SecOps teams to hunt over loads and loads of data or records that are being sent into the logs. Just incidentally, Kusto query language is used across a number of Microsoft products, not just security products, not just Sentinel and Defender, but also even in Azure and log analytics. So if I go to advanced hunting here on the left-hand side, we've got different schema. So if we look at the schema are basically the tables from the data that we have. So the different types of sources are sending information into multiple different tables. So it's categorized into alerts, apps and identities, email and collaboration, but there's multiple tables related to those detection sources. We've got some queries, and we'll see that if I just collapse, shared queries. We've got my queries. So my queries, why that's there, that bar is getting in the way. So I can create a query and save it. And then it's my query to run again at a later stage. Or I can have access to community queries. So people out in the community, the security communities, and there's GitHub repos with queries that are being used to identify like log4j, for example. There's lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of queries that you can get from the communities for hunting. And then shared queries are queries that I've created and shared with other people in my team, or other people in my team have shared with me. So what I'm going to look for in this advanced hunting query is I want to look for credentials that were added to an Azure Active Directory application, because that detects where activity from cloud applications could be malicious. So I've got this query here that somebody has saved with me. Credentials were added to an Azure AD application. And if I double click it, I've got it open. And I run this query. So this is KQL over here. And very quickly, it's come back with 30 days worth of information for results that match my query. So I'm looking for applications where the service principal or credentials have been added to an application. And I've got various columns that are available in the results. I'm just going to sort by account display name. And here you can see some actual user accounts here. Gustavo Pedro, for example, is an interesting user. I better go and investigate. So I'll just click on the account object ID, and straight from my query, it's going to surface information around that user and the risks associated with that user, or anything that's associated with this user. And so in this flyout, I can see that the user has got there's some threat under the threat section here. There's a bit of threat against this user. So we've got 8 active alerts for this user. There's some lateral movement. The identity is high risk. So, we can click on the alerts and we can just get a view of the alerts that are associated with this user. Okay. So that's just an example of having a view to some of the information that's in the tables today. So I can go and query what information I have. Even if there are alerts, I can look at it from a different angle. Now, another thing that I want to maybe look at is OAuth apps that are reading mail via Graph API. So this query here that's been saved, there we go, just needed a second to load the query. Let's just run that query. And we can see that there's an account or an application account name, display name, that is accessing emails via Graph API. And now that might be something that is legitimate, but it might also be nefarious. Now, another query to run is that I could run when an app is reading mail both via Graph API and directly, which could be a different mechanism. And it says here one method may be legitimate and one suspect. So Graph API might be suspect, but not via Graph API is okay, or vice versa. And if I run this query, I don't get any results, okay? but that's because it hasn't happened in my environment yet. Okay, but what I can do is I can create an alert or a detection rule based off of this information. So this is what I want to detect, and then I can create a custom alert. And so I'm not going to go through this, but I can fill in the details and create an alert whenever this exact type of event happens. And then I will get an alert, and I can link that to the various tactics and incidents. So that's how I can do advanced hunting with detection rules and creating my own detection rules. And that's my Defender demo. So I've got a few more slides that I'd like to just go through. As I mentioned earlier, I will touch on the zero trust principles. So these are Microsoft's interpretation of the zero trust principles. So verify explicitly, use least privileged access, and assume breach. And Microsoft have a number of capabilities that tie in with the zero trust framework or principles. And so we have the conditional access policies, which are essentially the zero trust policy enforcement engine, and then taking telemetry from each of the systems, being able to read that information and perform an action depending on what the scenario is or what the condition is, hence the name conditional access. And conditional access is very powerful in not only allowing access or blocking access, but also allowing access, but if the device is unmanaged, for example, the resource that the user is accessing becomes read-only, for example, or you can't download. And that's all with the integration of Microsoft Defender for cloud apps and Microsoft Information Protection. You can then have different sensitivity labels applied to the data. So it takes the information about not only the user, the device, the network that they're coming from, but also the resource and the data on the other end that they're trying to access. And putting that information all together in conditional access and policies that you have allows that kind of granularity to be set. There's, as I mentioned, zero trust is quite a big framework, and it's a journey. And so everyone is somewhere in a zero trust journey. You might be right at the beginning of a zero trust journey, or you might be in the middle or very close to implementing zero trust everywhere. And so there's a maturity model assessment that you can do to see how you are doing on your zero trust journey. But also there's deployment guidance and plans on how you can implement zero trust in everything in your technology stacks. And then I want to give you, as I mentioned, a gift. So these are the very simple principle protections that you can utilize to defend yourselves or your environments. So these mechanisms protect against 98% of attacks. And so the first off is using anti-malware. That's kind of goes without saying. Applying least privilege access, enabling multi-factor authentication. And multi-factor authentication, we know actually is the highest protector. We've seen it has had an impact on thwarting attacks by the most percentage, and it's relatively easy to do. And then keeping your versions up to date. So installing those patches, installing those security updates regularly, and protecting the data. So applying data leakage prevention policies or sensitivity labels and actually protecting the data. And then the remaining 2% of the bell curve are attacks that are like outlier attacks. So in closing, I just will recap what we covered. In the beginning, I told you about some of the threats that we need to defend against. And then I showed you what it is that we want to protect in our environments. And then I just went into the Defender suite from Microsoft and gave you a bit of a demo of Microsoft 365 Defender. And I just spoke about the zero trust principles and the 5 basic things you should be doing to protect your infrastructure. And so with that, I open it up to any questions. And I know that one of the questions is most likely going to be, can we have a copy of the deck? And absolutely, it's available on my slide share at the link there.
All right, great. Awesome
And
section.
I'll paste the link directly into the chat once I can copy it.
All right. Indeed, I believe we are still picking questions. If you do have some questions, you can still share it in the chat box or raise your hand so I can unmute you if I have not already done that. But indeed, I personally, served, my Saturday in this section has been really served, and I would like to also know your view, because I believe that the 2 speakers have indeed given us a menu, international menu, as I will put it. So I want to say a big thank you to our speakers, Matthew and Ibrahima. We really appreciate your time and all these experience sharing to the Microsoft community, and everybody who loves community work at large. It's been so great to have you, to listen to you, the demos. It's been very actionable. I'm really set. For me, I've really enjoyed these sections. All the speakers, I've really enjoyed them. And I would like to reach you, and we will do some back stuff for our summit as well, because it has been very much awesome. So thank you, guys. Abu, if you have any final words before I wrap up.
Just to say thank you to them. I'm so excited. Forgive me if I didn't reach out to all the speakers before the event. Normally I do that one, but this week was a very good week for me. But definitely, hey, the most important thing is that to get you coming to meet our community and have a good session with them. And that's very, very good. I'm so excited, and every day we'll be learning new things, and today too is another day. We got a lot of perspective of what you already know. And thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you for having us. Thank you for having me.
So yes, to all the attendees, the section will be shared on our YouTube channel, and we would also share the slides in the community forums. But the recordings of this section will be shared on our YouTube. So kindly stay tuned. We will broadcast it there for you. So Ibrahima and Matthew, a big thank you, as we always do, for your wonderful sections. Throughout these 2 hours, you guys have rocked us, and we are very much appreciative of that. So I'll say yes, enjoy your weekend. Then regards to South African family and France family as well. So yes, thank you very much for the section, and hope to see more from you guys in our summit.
Indeed. Thank you very much, and au revoir to everybody.
Thank you.
Bye
Bye-bye.
bye. Bye bye. Very much. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.